Welcome, everybody, to Inside Boxing Daily on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. Inside Boxing Daily, as always, is brought to you by the Retired Boxers Foundation with Jackie Richardson and our friend Alex Ramos. Make sure you check them out on Facebook. I am your host for Inside Boxing Daily, Mike Goodpaster. Right now, I'd like to welcome in my co-host, Jeremiah Preisser. How you doing, Jeremiah?
I'm always happy to be on, man. Let's get this thing going. First show of the week.
All right, and we had a couple upsets over this weekend, and the first one up was Scott Quigg. Now, Jonah Carroll dominated him. Quigg announced his plans on retiring from boxing after the fight, and this was a fight that Carroll pretty much dominated the entire fight.
Yeah. It really wasn't even that competitive. I mean, Quigg had a few spots, but by and large, it was just Carroll outboxing him. I mean, Quigg, to me, I think a lot of fans on Twitter already had it correct in their assessment when they said that Quigg was past his best. I mean, he looked old. He looked a little flabby at 130. I mean, to me, I don't know. He just never had the body type where he looked. I don't think he ever looked that tight at 126, and I think that was probably his best class. I know he accomplished more at 122. That, I don't usually pay attention to 122 and, the junior super classes. But, yeah, Carroll looked good. I think he's learned a thing from the Tevin Farmer fight because he boxed. He didn't do like he did against Tevin Farmer where he went out there and threw a lot of punches. He was sharp, stuck behind the jab, did a lot of counter punching. And I thought his most effective line of work was going to the body. I thought he could have stopped Quigg much sooner if he would have went down there consistently. I mean, he landed a few lefts and rights to the bodies where you could see Quigg, he's a tough guy. So he'd always he'd grit, or he'd flinch just for a little bit, and Carroll never followed up. It just seemed like he was content beating him up, winning a clear decision if he had to. I mean, he never really pushed it too hard until the end there. But yeah, I think if he really went for it, I think he could have gotten Quigg out of there much sooner. But Quigg he couldn't find his timing. He couldn't he couldn't pull the trigger. He's just an old guy. So retirement is the best thing. He doesn't have anything left to prove. He had a decent career. But Carroll looks good. I got to give him the most credit because, again, I thought he was going to come right at Quigg and try to outpunch him. And I think he could have won that way too. He was just sharper. And again, he's at his peak. So yeah, Carroll's going to get another decent fight. I don't know if there's anything big domestically that he can go for. I don't even know who his promoter is, but good win for him.
Yeah. Quigg just his hands were slow, poor balance, slow reaction, and ultimately he looked gun shy. And it was probably caused by the lack of speed that he had. He knew he was
and Carroll, to his credit, was he was as quick as a whip, man. I mean, again, I'm not comparing him to Pacquiao, but he did a few things that Pacquiao would do, where he would kind of throw that straight left hand just to touch a guy, and then he would slide under. And I thought that was a neat move. And again, his boxing ability was a bit better than I thought it would. But like you said, Quigg was just gun shy. He looked slow. I mean, it just wasn't. I think somebody did call it and said that Quigg looked like crap in his last fight. I hadn't seen it, so that's why I picked Quigg to win by decision. But I was wrong, and I'm happy to be so.
All right. Also, on the undercard, Hughie Fury won. All right, now let's go to fights that matter. Robert Helenius obliterates Adam Kownacki. Kownacki pretty much, I think, won the first 3 rounds. But once again, it goes to what we said about Jarrell Miller, and it counts for Adam Kownacki too. When you're fat and not in shape, this will happen.
Yep, I mean we've said this on air over and over and over and over again, right? I mean, whenever you look like Adam Kownacki, you may be presented as a contender. You may even get a shot at somebody significant. But the likelihood of you ever reaching the peak of the mountain is minimal. I mean, Andy Ruiz is a rare example. And, he wasn't even the heavyweight champion of the world. But, to even reach those heights for a guy who looks like Andy Ruiz is rare. When you look at the guys who upset Lennox Lewis, like Rockman and McCall, Yeah, they weren't chubby. They didn't look like that.
They also
And
weren't half bad heavyweights, and both of those guys, outside of maybe Tyson Fury, would have kicked everybody's ass today.
yeah, yeah, and An McCall was a good fighter, but
However, McCall still might be able to beat Adam Kownacki.
dude, I wouldn't be surprised if he somehow gets. They might as well put him against Shannon Briggs on because McCall is still going at it, and I think he's 50, 51 years old, and he's still never been stopped. I mean, tells you the chin that this guy's had. But no, it's Adam Kownacki. We said a while back. I said before the fight, when you look like that, it's just unlikely that you're ever going to be a real player. You might be fodder, right? He had a big following. They were hoping for that. And if you have a product like that as a promoter, I don't blame you for milking it for what it's worth, right? Kownacki's got a good Polish following. He sells tickets. He makes you some money. That's fine. I get it. But again, he's just he's never going to be. I mean, you look at an example like that. It's Chris Arreola. Chris Arreola, who he fought. Chris Arreola, I think, is an example of a guy like Kownacki where you'll provide some action, you'll be fun. Again, maybe you'll get a shot at somebody significant like Arreola did too many times, but like he did against Vitaly Klitschko. He didn't get smoked. He didn't get knocked out early, but he was dominated the entire fight. I don't think he won a round, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a while since I saw the fight, but he was just dominated. Helenius, though, it's a pretty sizable upset. I think according to the odds, it might have been bigger than Ruiz Joshua if you looked at all the betting lines. I can't remember, but I know, who is it, Jimmy Delory? Maybe I'm mistaken, but I know he does a lot of betting odds and stuff on Twitter. I think he said like the furthest was 25-1, so maybe that wasn't as far as Ruiz Joshua. But
I think Ruiz Joshua was 25-1, and.
Well, but ESPN, I remember ESPN put out a graphic saying he was only 11-1, so I don't know who they were using.
There's a bunch of different places you can use. Now, let's get to the main thing, and that's now Robert Helenius is now the mandatory to WBA champion Anthony Joshua.
Yes,
and, of course, Prince Charles Martin's a mandatory to the IBF. So that'll tell you, for all you guys out there that think this heavyweight division is good, it's still shitty.
Yep, and for anybody who puts any value in the alphabet organizations, it tells you how shitty this is. I mean, it's a poor division. The alphabet, trinket organizations are a joke. Martin, come on, man. Who wants to see Martin for the IBF? Anthony Joshua has that. Do we really need to see a repeat of what happened years ago?
Charles Martin, correct?
Yeah, right. And Charles Martin beat Washington, and Washington beat Helenius, but it's a joke, man. I can't stand any of this like political nonsense. Charles Martin, Helenius, you got to give Helenius a lot of credit. Well, you do got to give him a lot of credit because hardly anybody gave him a real shot here. He hasn't looked the same since 2012 when he had surgery on his shoulder or something.
I'll give you this.
I know Emmanuel Stewart
you did say you could see Helenius knocking him out. But
that's true.
You didn't pick it. But you did see the possibility. I did not.
Yeah, I did. I mean, my thing is as much boxing as I've watched, especially when it comes to heavyweights, anything is possible. I was going to put $5 down on Helenius, but BetNow did not carry the lines. They didn't have anything for that fight, so I didn't bother. But yeah, I did say it wouldn't shock me if Helenius won. But I think Helenius did. I think win the second round. I think he stunned Kownacki there, or at least drove him back a little bit. And, the commentators made light of the fact that Kownacki obviously respected his power. But, dude, Kownacki, you can't say that he's not in shape, I suppose. I mean, he is training. 265 isn't far off from his really the weight he's been fighting at. I think he was 260 in his last fight. I think he was 264 a few fights before that. So he's about that even when he's in fighting shape. But, dude, good for Helenius. I mean, I don't want to make it all about Kownacki losing because we never thought he was that special to begin with.
I think Kownacki could be a middleweight.
Yeah, I don't know what
he looks like a dude that could lose 100 pounds. And we talked about this in the fight. If I look like Andy Ruiz, or I look like Jarrell Miller, or I look like
Arreola,
or any of these guys, if I'm big, fat, slappy, and got tits, I don't want to take my shirt off at the pool, much less do it in front of millions of people.
I know, and I get it. Some people say that, well, oh, that's their body types.
Oh,
Dude, where are these
bullshit. That
body
means
types
you
coming?
eat too much. Oh, they got a slow
Yeah,
metabolism. Fuck, it's because of what you
well, what
eat,
they're
you
doing.
lard ass. But go ahead.
Exactly. No, I know, and that's why we said this. Jarrell Miller was probably using PEDs, so he could eat whatever the hell he wants. I mean, it wanted because he kept gaining weight, but somehow his stamina, was maintained. It was unnatural, But John thought maybe it was a kickboxer's stamina. They seem to have better. I mean, now we know it's PEDs, but yeah, it's like Kownacki. Dude, you're never going to reach a top like that. But again, Helenius deserves credit here because he's awkward. I mean, he did go 12 rounds with Dillian White. He's not a bad fighter. And he's carved out a solid career for himself, especially after. Again, Emmanuel Stewart did say good things about him. He did say he had some potential. I think that was before the surgery, the shoulder surgery. But he's still got a big right hand. And he was long and he was awkward. And, I thought Kownacki was eventually going to break him down because Helenius wasn't doing a great job of tying up on the inside. I thought he was letting Kownacki work a bit too much, but he kept finding a spot with that right hand. And the referee missed the first knockdown. I mean, I don't know how. I mean, it was clear as day, in my opinion, that he hit him with the right hand, dropped him to a knee, but thankfully it didn't matter. I don't know if the ref purposely missed it or what, because he was staring right at the action. But it didn't matter. Helenius ended up clocking him again, knocked him down, didn't let him off the hook, and got the stoppage. So now I don't know what happens. I mean, I don't even know if Helenius ever gets a shot at Anthony Joshua or any of these guys. I mean, he could be upset in a stay busy fight. I don't know. But he probably goes the Pulev route where he just plays it real safe until he finally gets it.
That's what I would do. Efe Ajagba stops Razvan Kajanu. I watched this fight. Ajagba, to me, does not really impress me. I've seen a lot of guys kick Kajanu out quicker than that. I know he's a tough guy, but, I mean, I thought he showed vulnerability in terms of stamina in this fight. I mean, he was breathing hard. He looks a little over-muscled. And I think a good heavyweight, if there's any out there, that may force him to fight harder, I think he runs out of gas.
Yeah, I know. But it's like, who, in this day and age, who can do it? I mean, I don't know. I mean, Tyson Fury, I guess. I mean, but besides that, I don't know. Kownacki, Miller, I don't know, guys with good stamina. I don't know. It's tough to say. I just don't like this modern brand of heavyweights. And I'm not trying to be too critical. I mean, some of these guys do have genuine talent, but a lot of they look like cookie cutter guys to me, right? They come out of the amateurs and they still have that, right? Ajagba, Hrgovic, the Klitschko's were like that, though. They had though Vitali was obviously more versatile, but they stand upright, they stick behind the jet. Tony Yoka, I think, is another in that mold. But Teslenko is another in that mold. And you've been getting this stuff for a long time now. I think I noted that. Who is it? Mavrovich, who fought Lennox Lewis.
Oh,
he was kind of
Mavrovic. Yeah.
Yeah, he was in that mold too. But a lot of these guys just stand upright, stick behind the jabs and 1-2s, and they try to knock you out that way. I mean, it's okay, but it's just not that exciting, especially after the anniversary of Frazier Ali won. I mean, I'm watching these guys pound on each other and Frazier getting in Ali's wheelhouse and dodging and slipping, and it's just a different breed, man. I mean, Ajagba, he might be a player. I never see him reaching the top, though.
No, he just looks like a skinny version of Mato Kownacki to me. Next up, undefeated former Cuban amateur star at heavyweight, Frank Sanchez, or as I like to say, the poor man's Luis Ortiz, defeated Joey DeWico by a one-sided 10-round unanimous decision. And I wasn't impressed by this guy either. And the sad thing, like you said, is heavyweights like Sanchez are the future of this division. And that does not bode well for anybody but Tyson Fury. I mean, he doesn't have the talent of Anthony Joshua or Daniel Dubois, But he'll likely get a world title shot at some point, just like a Jogba probably will, just because there's like 400 titles available. But I don't know. I didn't see it with Sanchez either.
Yeah, again, it's hard to be hyped up about the heavyweights, and I know some people are, but I just don't think we're getting a lot of interesting stuff. And the fact that he says that he's 27, that's bullshit. There is no way he's 27. He's got a fucking six head, okay? There's no way. I mean, that hairline is clawing its way back. It's just, I don't believe it. Anyways, he does have some amateur pedigree. Therefore, his technique is good. His timing, his distance, it's all good, right? He showed some class in there. Dweco can fight. He's an experienced guy, real tough to stop, hard to hurt. So it was a good experience for Sanchez at this juncture. But until Sanchez gets hit, I don't really know what he's got. I mean, he's got some class, but how many Cuban heavyweights have we seen come into the pros and they look classy? I don't even know what to say about the guy. What his if he loses to a fringe guy and never makes it into the top 10, I wouldn't be surprised at all. I don't really know where he's going to go.
Yeah, but he'll still get a title shot.
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, he's got PBC backing him, but I think they could put him on the back burner and quick. Kownacki sells better. He's more exciting. Jogba looks better so far. Maybe Sanchez will turn out to be better. I don't know. I don't have a lot of hope in really any of these guys until they start fighting guys who can hit back.
Yeah. All right. What do you think about Joe Goosen or is it Joe or Dan with Kurbet? Yeah, Joe Goosen he's training Kurbet Pulev for the Anthony Joshua fight.
I think that's a good move. I mean, I think it's good for Pulev, but I don't think it's going to matter much. Pulev is 37, 38 at this juncture. We talked about this before when they announced the fight. Pulev is a solid heavyweight. He's been top 10 or about top 10 for 6-7 years now. I mean, but he really hasn't beaten anybody good, clearly. I mean, even the Huey Fury fight was boring. I think it was a pretty close decision. I can barely remember. That's one of those fights you watch and you're like, your brain is like, yeah, there's no use for that shit. And then I think he got a split decision against Chisora, an older Chisora, who's obviously still pretty good. But if you're a legitimate top 10 guy, you should be beating Chisora. So Pulev does have good technique, like Sanchez, good timing, good this and that. He's got a good jab, but he can't hit that hard. So how's he going to discourage Anthony Joshua, who's superior offensively? It's a good move. Goosen's a good trainer, but I don't think it's not going to matter much.
All right, and we will finish with Deontay Wilder and the obvious cheat that is Tyson Fury. And now Steve Cunningham's got into it too. Did you see any of the USS Steve Cunningham's tweets about the fight?
I know that a lot of people were making. I saw a few people retweet the one thing that he said, and I can't quite remember what it was. But I don't know. I saw what he said on Facebook, and he was talking about how in all of years of boxing, he hasn't seen a hand like that, something like that. I don't know. Maybe you can elaborate on that.
He posted a picture, and it's of the first fight. And he put, if you believe his hand is in the glove all the way, something's wrong with you. His knuckles are in the wrist of the glove. See where the wrist connects on the chin, because that's where the knuckles are. And you can watch the video. And, I mean, number one, the wrap goes to the same spot. So if he's actually pulling his hand down, you would notice by the wrap. And you don't see that. The other thing, and Steve Cunningham knows this, so this is basically just Steve Cunningham does it like Tyson Fury because Tyson Fury whipped his ass. But the wrap markings, when you watch these videos, to me, prove his hand was all the way in the glove for at least the majority of the fight. And, everybody keeps playing video of the first fight where Fury didn't even get the win. And I think the clips of the second bout are even more conclusive in Fury's favor. because both hands were clearly all the way in when the telling blows were landed. I just think this is people with too much time on their hands protesting to gain hits on their YouTube videos, and it's becoming more of a slant against authority than it is Tyson Fury, because I think to suggest the Nevada and California commissions would miss something like that for such a high-profile fight is offensive to both. I mean, there was 2 different referees to check Fury's gloves. Hell, Deontay Wilder's cornermen have to check it to approve it. Plus, supervision was present at the wrapping of all 4 gloves in both contests. And despite all these facts, some just don't want to give it up, and they're hell-bent on smearing Fury's clear rematch victory any way that they can. And, I mean, it's all racial. I mean, if you look at these guys with the LOBC, LDB, whatever you call these idiots that make these YouTube videos, I hadn't seen any of them. I watched them today. And I found it amazing that you can live in this country for like 30 years and still can't speak correctly.
Yeah, well, I don't know. The education system is pretty piss poor here, but I mean, yeah, it's all it is, man. It's a campaign of misinformation, and I don't even know why. I don't know why they're so focused on the first fight, anyways. I mean, a lot of them will say that Wilder won or that the draw was legitimate, and that's fine. I mean, whatever you want to believe, but what benefit is there to Tyson Fury having his hand move down? And I know people are saying, oh, well, it's he's punching with a thinner part of the glove. Dude, how many punches did he even land in the fight? I mean, did he really hurt Fury? Did Fury say, or did Wilder say, oh yeah, well, his punches in the first fight hurt worse than the second fight? No, Deontay Wilder himself in the second fight said that he was never hurt by Tyson Fury. Obviously, he's lying, but if you're drawing suspicion to a fight where Tyson Fury was obviously not 100%, coming off his alcoholic and drug binge for a few years and this and that, and we're trying to draw up speculation for that. I mean, what does that ultimately do for the rematch? Nothing, because even if he was punching in a thinner part of the glove, which I don't see anybody who's being objective believes.
Has Deontay Wilder said this at all?
No, he hasn't. I mean, and it's funny because I have been, arguing with some people online, and they're like, "Oh, well, old media doesn't want." And like you said, it's racial. I mean, I've talked to a number of these guys, and I try to be as level-headed as possible. I'm open-minded, man.
Media, because I noticed today, I was watching a couple guys, and they called their group New Media, and it's run. All these guys are run by Dante's Boxing. That's the dude that bought his wife from overseas. And he's a big fat dude who basically knows nothing about boxing. You could tell he never boxed because he's twice the size of Jarrell Miller. And he actually charges these guys to be a part of New Media. Every Sunday on Dante's site, they have a class that you could pay $3.99 for to learn how to be, I guess, a racist podcaster of boxing.
Must be nice. Yeah, I wonder how many of them are monetized. I mean, because, Dante's Boxing Nation has a lot of subscribers. Yeah, I mean, it's obviously racial. I mean, I'm trying to be level-headed with people, and I'm willing to believe anything, granted the facts fall in place. And, I've been asking some of these guys, well, what are the charges? What's this, what's that? And it's, I was talking to a guy earlier, and he was telling me that, it's old media. Old media doesn't want to cover it. Tyson Fury has the complexion for protection. That's verbatim. He's a white guy, so they're protecting it. They're protecting their cash cow. I don't understand. I mean, I think America would have been fine if Deontay Wilder would have beat Tyson Fury. I mean, he would have been an American heavyweight champion. That would have been a real big deal. And had Deontay Wilder knocked out Tyson Fury in the rematch, we would all be clamoring for an Anthony Joshua fight, right? We would all be saying that would be huge and do a lot of money, doing big ticket sales and a lot of money, et cetera. So I don't think it's about, his complexion. I mean, maybe it helps Tyson Fury sell better, but it doesn't matter because Deontay Wilder would have been a much bigger attraction had he won. But yeah, man, it's about complexion and it's about protection, and the old media doesn't want to cover it. And, they tried telling me that, there are problems with new media and they're all, in cahoots with one another to cover it up. And where's the facts, man? I mean, they talk about these LDBC guys like they're fucking investigative journalists doing hardcore work, when I think any person who's open-minded and mostly objective knows that this is just misinformation spread from a select group who's been riding Deontay Wilder's coattails for years now. Look at the amount of videos they've done on Deontay Wilder, had him on as guests. I think Dante's had Wilder on as a guest multiple times, if I'm not mistaken. Again, I don't watch it, but it's clear that the agenda is there.
Today. This is the first time I've seen a video. I watched a couple when I sat near him for the Broner Granados fight. And I was just trying to see, because, he gave me his number and everything. And maybe we should call it and see if he wants to come on the show and explain why he's doing this. Because, I mean, we got Prince Charles Martin that agrees with it. BJ Flores thinks there's something to it. And
yeah, Eric Hunter. Eric Hunter, too, is a fighter.
And I'll give you this. This fight was not racial until the ring entrance. And I saw Jason Whitlock and a few other black athletes talking about this about a week ago. And they were talking about, I think it was Whitlock went to his best friend's white. They went to the fight, and he was cheering for Wilder because he was an American. Until the music played with some obscure rapper talking about Black Jesus, Black Lives Matter, how blacks were superior. Just imagine if Tyson Fury, for the third fight, came into a song about how the white race was superior, they would not even allow him in the ring to fight. And on YouTube, when I just checked Dante's Boxing Nation, all his shit is monetized. So it's the same thing as always. They're going to let the left, the fringe of society, because they are, do whatever they want. But if you made a white boxing society on YouTube, they would ban you immediately. I mean, they've done it with sites like Red Ice and Alex Jones where they don't agree with them, so they stop them. They don't do this with these guys who are calling for it. And the thing is this. Deontay Wilder, if he would have been huge, if he wanted people to cheer for him, could you imagine if for that fight he would have came into Bruce Springsteen's Born in the USA instead of having some demonic, dumbass 45-pound outfit on that it looks like, maybe he wore for Halloween? He would have won most of that American crowd over right there, whether it was black or white. And the people that promote him should have been doing this years ago, because if you would have, and instead of playing up the black aspect of everything and play up the American part of it, everybody would have been on his side. And this is the thing. He grew up in Alabama. He was middle class. He only became a boxer because he knocked his girl up. I mean, it's not like he was poor, run down, and all of this shit, which he makes it sound like. He makes it sound like he's still trying to overcome slavery. And the fucker's made like $50 million or more in the last year and a half. I would love to be that kind of a slave.
Yeah, well, at least he's not an Anthony Joshua type slave. I mean, obviously that sucks too. But I mean, it's...
Yeah, he made that comment also.
He just said Eddie Hearn was another white man milking a black man. Right, and as you pointed out... in your piece, that's, Anthony Joshua makes more money than Deontay Wilder. So, I mean, again, it's dumb, man. I mean, and I've seen people say that it's not racial. I've seen them say that. They're like, oh, well, the song doesn't have anything to do with it. Listen, man, I'm not good at math. I am American, right? Our school system sucks. At least I can speak, but I can't do math, right? So it's kind of like the opposite of some of these LDBC guys. Like I can speak, but I can't
Is that
math,
the
right?
same thing as LGBTQ? Because I think it is.
Yeah, I don't. My guess is they probably don't hold hands, you know. But yeah, it's like I'm not good at math, but when you take into account Deontay Wilder's, you know, his outfit, the fact that he was doing it to write a chapter in Black History Month, you know, the fact that he's, you know, made the, you know, till this day comment and called Eddie Hearn a white guy milking a black guy. I mean, it all adds up, right? I mean, I'm not saying he's like, you know, a Black Panther or anything, but there's obviously a racial aspect to it. He's obviously conscious of it and playing up to it. I mean, look at the video he did after the fight saying that, you know, you're king, you're king. What is it? What do you mean you're king?
Yeah.
And I mean, look at the photo shoot that he did after the fight. He was dressed up as an African, right? Like an African king. I mean, dude, he's obviously playing to a segment of society, and if he wants to do that, I'm perfectly fine with it. But like you said, but that's why, you know, that's why these community guys are playing into it as well, because Wilder plays the role. But like you said, if you would have come out to some patriotic song and dressed almost like Tyson Fury did in what was it, the Seferi fight?
No,
Which fight was it?
The guy he knocked out in the second round before Tom Schwartz.
Tom Schwartz, yes, exactly. If he would have dressed something like that, you know, and came out to a patriotic song, and had he won, Wilder would be huge. I mean, we already know he got in front of a lot of people with those ads on Super Bowl. You know, this would have made him not necessarily a household name, but certainly bigger. So, yeah, man, there's obviously that aspect to it, and I think anybody who tries to deny it I think they're off base.
All right, we have a question from Hamed. Listening to the show, was wondering, do you guys think on YouTube... Oh, hold on here. He just asked a second question, and it took out the first question. Hold on here. He says, do you think the guys on YouTube from the LDBC who made videos saying Fury tested positive should be sued or taken to court? Is it a lack of integrity from guys who get credentials to fights? Jeremiah?
Well, this is why some of them have been removed. Some of these guys have been banned from ringside. You know, some of them did get credentials, and you know they no longer can apply for them. You know, but it's a lack of integrity. I mean, and that's the thing too, is that's a good point, because it plays into what I said earlier, right? They're talking about new media and old media, and they're making these charges about old media that they lack integrity, you know, because they'll engage in these cover-ups and whatnot. When these guys will constantly they're putting out misinformation purposely, right? So, you know, they're complaining about integrity of old media when they've got very little themselves. But,
You got to let me get to the second question, because Ahmed just sent me something really interesting.
Okay.
But you know the costume he wore for Black History Month? Okay?
Okay.
The people who did the costume, Donato Crowley and Cosmo Lambino. They call it Cosmo's Glam Squad. They are reportedly from the gay community, and it's two white guys. That's who made his Black History Month costume.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, he couldn't keep the music. He couldn't keep the money.
The black public, like two gay white guys making your outfit for you.
Yeah.
That's
right.
Shit.
I know. Yeah. No, that is interesting. I thought I saw a picture of the people who made it, and I thought one was a girl. So
they're guys, I guess. Cosmo looks a little like a girl. So really, this now kind of fits together. You know, because I made it LDBC, LGBTQ. It's the same thing.
Yeah,
maybe Deontay will come to the ring with the two guys, you know, waving a rainbow flag next time. And maybe he'll have a rainbow Terminator costume or something.
Yeah, it'll come out to It's Raining Men or something.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah, no, if Deontay Wilder wanted to, cross-pollinate into other segments of society and build his brand. He should have done it a long time ago.
Well, I didn't know that Deontay was like that. But what the hell? You find out new things every day. But I really find it interesting. Dan, thanks, Hamed, for the picture, because there's actually a YouTube video where the designers speak up about it.
Yeah, I've heard about it. I haven't watched it. I mean, that's just not something that interests me. It doesn't matter. I mean, Deontay Wilder made the choice to wear it. I just think, I think instead of complaining about his costume, I mean, he got top heavy on those little fucking pretzel legs. So does
that mean he's a bottom or a top?
I would say he's probably bottom most of the time.
It looked like he was a bottom against Tyson Fury.
Yeah, he's the bottom now, so it doesn't matter. And it might happen in the third fight too. So yeah, I mean, it's just like it all fits together. And it's no surprise. It's just as when this is the problem. This is one thing that I've experienced so far is if you talk about this. If you talk about these members and bring up clear things that they're saying that are racially charged, people start they start pointing the finger at you like, oh well, why do you care? Why are you bothering with this? You must be a racist for bringing it up. It's like, dude, like I said on Twitter, if there was a community of white guys doing this stuff, dude, YouTube would have demonetized them, would have taken them, maybe not taken them down, maybe not. Because it all depends on the person, right? I mean, if you're largely sticking to boxing and then you bring race into it, sometimes again, YouTube is weird with their standards and who they take off.
They have no standards; they just do what they want.
Oh, they do it. Their standards are just arbitrary. They do have them. It's just arbitrary. It's one of those things. I mean, you would have people crying constantly about these guys if that was the case, but it doesn't exist. But these guys can't exist. They've got a lot of followers. Go to IOTBA Boxing, the group, and see how many members they have, right? Go look at the content that they talk about. I mean, it's clear. I've talked to a number of British guys who are like, dude, why is it all about race with you guys? And I'm like, dude, like, it was one of those things. It's right. It's tough to talk about because, people are going to point the finger and start putting little subtext into whatever you're saying. It's like, come on, man. They're not hiding their intentions. They're making it clear. And me pointing to it does not make me anything.
Yeah. But, all right. We got anything else before we wrap it up?
Nah. Well, I did hear... I just announced it. We don't need to analyze this, but I did hear that Tyson Fury, now boxing. So Mauricio Suleiman, who I don't care for. Let me start by saying that the head of the WBC, he said last night that he was going to fill out reports and talk about all the clean tests that he's had from Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, and a few other guys. Boxing Scene just put out an article, I think 2 hours ago, saying that Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder passed all of their VADA tests. Now, like I said on Facebook last night, I'm not going to slap anybody on the ass for taking VADA testing for like a month or 2 or 3, right? You're getting by. You can easily get by with it if you're doing that stuff. So both of these guys do not get a lot of credit for me, but it eliminates one of the narratives, right? We were talking about, just as Hamed did, Hamed was talking about, we were talking about them putting out, like fake failure of drug test for Tyson Fury and saying there's, something wonky with his A sample or B sample or whatever the hell it was. Well, we know that now. We now know that Tyson Fury passed his VADA test. So that's just, again, they're putting out fake results to drug tests. And we know that now. So that eliminates one of the conspiracies. I mean, it's pathetic, man.
Yeah, it's desperation and embarrassment, and humiliation.
Yep. And it's the worst I've seen any group take a loss in all my time as a fan.
Yeah. I mean, well, yeah, it is. Well, maybe the James Jeffries people back in the early 1900s.
Yeah. They took it a lot worse. But
Yeah,
in my 15,
that was a lot worse, and I don't support that either. So
yeah. No. But in my time watching boxing, this is the saltiest bunch I've ever seen.
yeah, well, they're not salty; they're just stupid. And the thing is this, like I said, in the end, if there was any truth to it, Deontay Wilder would be screaming because he's the one that got hit. And if you remember, at the end of that fight, he said that none of those punches hurt him. In the second fight, he said that, if you remember.
Yep, out of the king's mouth.
Yeah.
He said it.
Yeah. Well, he's not my king. My king is Elvis Presley because I'm white. I'm just kidding about that because he died eating like fried banana sandwich on the toilet. So what the hell? I don't have a king because I'm an American.
What a way to go.
And in 1776, we got rid of the king.
That's right, baby. That's right.
All right, Hamed, thanks for asking the question. Since he said thanks for answering the question, Jeremiah, wrap it up.
Yep. Wrap it up. Yeah, as always, you can find me on Facebook. Just type in my name. That's my preferred social media outlet. Again, I like long form conversation as opposed to the Twitter stuff. But I am on Twitter every once in a while. If you want to catch me there, follow me. I'll follow you back. I'm not snobby like that. I'm not like some of these guys who will ask for the follows and then not, reciprocate the goodwill. I will follow you back. So you can follow me at Griffos Hanky. You can follow the boxing page at TGT and Boxing. You can follow the main page at Grueling Truth. And you can find us where at, Mike?
I don't know. Where you want to go? I was just, Hamed, got to quit texting me where we're trying to wrap the show up. But Hamed, you can come on whatever day you want. You can find us on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spotify, like 300 different outlets. Just type in the Grilling Truth, you'll find us. But if you can, go give us a like, a comment. Every little bit helps. We're also on YouTube, Rockfin, which we got to get more content going on there, which will be soon, which that's premium content that you can't get on the website or anywhere else but Rockfin. So go make sure you check those guys out. But for now, for Jeremiah Preisser, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.